Joe Kissell takes control of Tahoe and Mac Basics, Part 3. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. So you've gone through a lot of things here. And I'm curious to see, and again, this is sort of a little bit off topic, but every release we seem to get new apps. And sometimes apps go away, like you said, the launcher, and they're replaced by something else. But in the aggregate, Apple seems to just continually be adding things. Is this a good thing, do you think? Because you said it there a minute ago that the games is not for you, not for me either. I'm right there with you. Yeah. But doesn't this speak to, I guess, the popularity and the diversity of the app of the Mac and what it can do, that they are addressing needs by people that aren't you and me, and the people that aren't in the echo chamber, and people that aren't necessarily Apple fans, but are more interested in using the Mac as a way to do whatever it is they do?
Well, it goes without saying that anyone who is not exactly like me is wrong, but
okay, good point.
No, sure, there different strokes, right? It's fine for everyone to have their own thing and to have a very flexible tool that can behave in whatever way you need it to behave. There are going to be things that you need or want to do that I would never ever do. Still great that you have a tool that can do them. That said, did you know that your Mac still has a Stickies app on it? It does. Stickies has been around since, I don't know, System 7 or something. I don't know. It's been around for a really long time. And Stickies has been supplanted multiple times by other apps that give you different ways, more modern, more powerful, more flexible ways to store little pieces of information, and also not like take up a lot of space on your screen. Most people would probably use something like Notes for that purpose now. But the Stickies app is still there. I have not used it in decades. I don't know of anyone else who has used it in decades. And it hasn't been updated. It hasn't gotten new features. It's been kept alive. It still functions, but it's not as though, hey, in macOS 27, we are overhauling Stickies to make it even like nobody. It's not going to happen. I just use that as an example. I think there are some apps that it would be okay to say goodbye to, or to roll into something else. I think there are points at which hanging on to something just because it's always been there is not necessarily helpful. You get a little bit of the Chinese restaurant menu thing where I go into a Chinese restaurant and I'm like, oh, there's 10, 12, 20 pages, and everything on every one of those pages looks good. I like all that stuff. It's all good, but I can't make up my mind. There's too much. I just give constraints can actually be very powerful if they can help you in decision making. So I went into a donut shop yesterday, a donut shop I had never been to before. I was just walking down the street. There's a sign on the sidewalk that says, "Donuts, coffee, this way." So I turned, oh, all right, I've never seen that before. Let's go in. And I walk in, and there is a big menu board on the wall, and it said donuts and the price, coffee and the price. That was it. That was their entire menu. I'm like, I would like some coffee and a donut, please. It was really easy. It was really great. So I didn't have to spend, like, I did have to pick out which donut I wanted. Okay. But I didn't have to spend a lot of time agonizing over, am I in? a lo mein mood? Do I really want some egg drop soup or some wonton soup? The kung pao chicken? That's always a good choice. Like I didn't have to think about the million different possibilities. I was just like, yeah, I want one of those, one of those. So I don't mind constraints when they decrease my cognitive load. So for whatever that's worth.
Okay, that's a good answer, and those are some good examples. I like the fact that one of the things you were talking about the iPhone, the phone app, that you don't have to use it. You don't have to use Stickies. They're there, and if you use Stickies, and then please don't be offended by anything Joe said or anything I'd say because I haven't used Stickies either. But if you like Stickies and it helps you work, fine. I
Yeah.
I like the fact that we have so many new options for so many different things. I've tried journaling. I'm not sure journaling is for me, but the journaling app is there, and it exposed me to something, and I thought that was good. That okay, maybe this is something I'd like to do at some point in my life. Maybe not right now is the time. So
There's something to be said for, and this is going to partly contradict what I just said, but there's something to be said for not burdening yourself with learning things that you have already figured out. So I do a lot of work in BB Edit. I've used BB Edit for years and years and years, and I use it not only for coding. I do use it for coding. I do I web stuff I edit like web pages and CSS files and PHP files and stuff like that in BB Edit. I also use it just for notes and lists and anything where I need plain text. And I really don't even want the stuff that like Text Edit can make plain text files, and Word can, and Nicest Writer can. There are lots of apps that can make plain text files. But I like BB Edit because it only does plain text. And that's what I want. The thing is, there are probably dozens of other text editors. And every once in a while, I'll see, hey, new text editor for Mac with these features. And wouldn't this be cool? And you could do this instead. And I'm slightly tempted for 2 seconds. And then I'm like, I know BB Edit. I know where all the commands are and the keyboard shortcuts, and I know what it can do and I know what it can't do. And it's a known quantity. And however much time I would spend learning a new app, it would have to give me such incredibly useful new things that would save me time overall to be worth that additional cost of learning. In the same way with the image editing app that I default to, even though I have a whole bunch of them, and the web browser that I default to, even though I have a whole bunch of them, and same for every category of app. So there is something to be said for, you know what, I have a way to do this. It's fine. It works for me. Don't force me to learn something else.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us full circle back to the liquid glass discussion, that if at least Apple in their infinite wisdom has given you options to turn it off or all but turn it off. So
yeah.
What else do we have, Joe? I mean, we've been at this for a while, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But
how much time do you have? I'm starting to acquire an interest in eating lunch, but I just a couple of things. Okay, a couple of things, because never hurts. Shortcuts, I mentioned. We're still talking to Rosemary about if or when her shortcuts book will be updated, but for people who like automation and who think about automation in a certain way, shortcuts can be super, super handy. In Tahoe, shortcuts, you take the same shortcuts that you've always been able to make them in the same way, but now there is this additional feature that shortcuts can run automatically when certain things happen. For example, if you want a shortcut to run at a certain time of day automatically without your intervention, it can run. If you want a shortcut to run whenever a new file appears in a certain folder, you can have a shortcut do that. If you want a shortcut to run when you get a message in messages from a certain person, or when you connect to a certain Wi-Fi network, and so on, shortcuts can now run automatically in any of 19 different automated categories. So that's useful. I use shortcuts for a handful of things. I am not a super big shortcuts user, but only because, for the reason I just I learned AppleScript, so I do a lot of things in AppleScript, and then I learned Automator, and then I learned Keyboard Maestro, and so I already have these existing automations set up using other mechanisms, and they work just fine for me. So there wasn't a particular benefit for me to redo those automations using shortcuts. But if you are a shortcuts user, or you have some task activity that you would like to have happen automatically in various circumstances, that can be a really handy thing. One last thing. Passwords. So I personally favor 1Password for password management. There are a lot of people who like using Apple's Passwords app and iCloud Keychain and so forth. That's fine. And of course, there are lots of other password managers. The thing is, when we got into using passkeys, when that became a thing a few years ago, you could make a passkey using your keychain, using the built-in capabilities of Mac OS. And you could make a passkey for the same site using a password manager like 1Password, but those would be two separate passkeys. They're unlike you could export a password from one place and import it to another place, no problem. But if you have a passkey that you made using Mac OS, and now you want to use that passkey in 1Password, instead of making a new passkey or vice versa, you couldn't do that. So now in Tahoe, there exists the capability to import and export passkeys. It's not super useful yet. As of this moment, the only app I know of that has just announced support for this import-export capability is Dashlane. 1Password has been talking about it. The others, of which there are many, are talking about it. They don't exist yet, but hopefully in the very, very near future, any passkeys that you created in one of these environments, you can now suck into one of these other environments if you prefer using that for any reason. And I do have some passkeys that I made in one place that I would like to use in another, so that's really handy. So just since we've talked so much about passwords over the years, I thought I would mention that in particular.
I'm glad you did, because that's not one that I've run across. I haven't seen it written up anywhere, perhaps because, to your point, it's not widely useful yet. But I love the fact that somebody has been forward-thinking enough on Apple's part to say, yes, we will accept them from others, or you can get yours out of ours into another system. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
So two things on the agenda here. First of all is to talk about the books and then find out what's for lunch. But let's talk about the books first. Where can I get the books as if I didn't know, and what kind of pricing is there for these?
So go to takecontrolbooks.com. Mac Basics is a $15 book. Take Control of Tahoe is a $10 book. Okay, $14.99, $9.99. If you had last year's book, if you had Take Control of Sequoia, you get a discount. That's only $5 for the new book. If you had the previous edition of Mac Basics, again, $5 for the new version. And if you are a Take Control Premium member, which you should be, then not only are the brand new books half price, $5 for the Tahoe book, $7.50 for the Mac Basics book, but upgrades are also half price. So if you had last year's Take Control of Sequoia, and ordinarily it would be $5 to upgrade to the Tahoe book, but you're a Take Control Premium member, the upgrade is only $2.50. We have had just an amazing, a very heartening response to Take Control Premium. It's been available for a couple of months. We already have almost 1,000 members, and everybody seems to be really digging it because all of a sudden everything is half price. The new books are half price and the upgrades are half of the already discounted price. And so people are buying a lot more of them, which is exactly what we were hoping for. And so you save money, we sell more books, everybody's happy. So if you are interested in saving, if you're planning to buy more than a few books over the course of the year, you have to buy a few for it to be able to amortize that amount. If you think you will, then $14.99 added on to whatever is already in your shopping cart will get you Take Control Premium. And as soon as you add that to your cart, the price of whatever you're buying in that purchase already decreases by 50%. And then for the next year, again, save 50% on everything. So just had to put in a plug for that. It's already very popular. We're expecting it to become even more so. And we have so many other books. 50 plus books right now. We're working on new books. We're working on so many updates for the new operating systems. And if you like, well, particularly Apple stuff, but if you are interested in tech stuff of all sorts, we have lots of good things for you and lots more to come. So hope you'll take advantage of that.
And Joe, I want to emphasize something you just said there, that yes, there may be 50 books, but those 50 books are being, a large percentage of them are being regularly updated to stay current.
Right.
And that is no small thing, because if you're out looking somewhere else, you're probably going to have to buy new versions of things. They don't always do upgrades. And definitely if you're relying on a paper book, I'm not sure who does that anymore, but I still see them in the stores occasionally. That means you're going to have to buy a whole new version because they don't update those. So, take
I should go. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
I should mention too, a customer wrote to me this morning, and said, what I really like about Take Control books is, I'm paraphrasing here. This is not the person's exact phrasing, but they have a high signal to noise ratio. So this person said, I will go and watch a YouTube video, and after a half hour of watching a YouTube video, I've only learned this much, because that's the way YouTube videos are. We won't get into the whole thing, but it takes a long time to get a small amount of information out of a YouTube video. In that same half hour of reading a Take Control book, you get this much. So our books we're not advertising, right? So it's not like we want to keep you watching our video long enough that you can see lots of ads and we make lots of money that way. That's not how it is. We pack our books very information dense. You don't have to read them all. You don't have to read them all at once and say, well, I only want to spend 15 minutes learning the thing I want to learn. Great. You just go do that. But you don't have to sit and watch boring, irrelevant stuff on your screen for a long period of time. This is a direct way to learn what you want to learn. And so we think it's particularly, even though, books and ebooks seem sort of passé in the public consciousness and everything's video these days, we think that this is a much more efficient way of respecting your time and getting information from us into your brains, and we think you'll like it.
And I would echo the reader's comments. That is my big thing. That's my big thing. Sorry, I had a voice assistant summon me. The idea that it is a high signal to noise. I love that. And there are a couple training resources out there that I can make that claim for. Take Control Books is right up there at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So, What's for lunch, Joe?
My go-to lunch most day, better than half the time, is a fruit smoothie. So I have a lot of frozen fruit, and so that's if I'm undecided, if I don't have a lot of time to think, well, I'm not going to really cook something, I'll make a fruit smoothie. I don't know for sure that I'm going to have a fruit smoothie today, but I would say the odds are greater than 50%.
A fruit smoothie sounds better than the handful of peanuts I had. So go enjoy your lunch. As always, thank you for being here and being so giving of the information. And I hope people realize that's just a small slice of what you get in these books. So, folks,
Absolutely.
takecontrolbooks.com. Go get it. Joe, we'll see you soon next time, I hope.
Oh, probably. Boy, am I working on some stuff. Really working on some stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see you then. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. One more time, takecontrolbooks.com. Take control of Tahoe or the Mac Basics book. Get them both. Get all of them. Get Take Control Premium. You will thank me later. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.